Hello, my name is Christopher Donald, and I'm going to be doing a little video here on cleaning your throwing wheel, your potter's wheel. So we have a messy wheel, and the way that I like to handle cleaning these is kind of doing it in a couple of steps. Actually, let me get a sponge that you'll probably have. It won't be like mine. There you go. The general cleanup sponges that we have at Claymakers are these tile sponges. Sometimes people have a slightly nicer version, the micro pore sponge that's from Detroit Sponge and Chamois, but this is just your normal tile sponge. And what I'm going to do is I've got some water here, and the first thing that I want to do is just liquefy everything that's in the bin. So I don't want to try and get rid of any of this yet. I'm just going to make sure that all of the solids and everything has been turned into a liquid. All right, so I can get the sides of my wheel here. And the other thing you should do is you should turn your wheel off before you start cleaning. There we go. Now I'm safe. And then I'm going to want to clean the inside here. If I've got any chunks in the pan, I'm going to scoop those out and put them in my throwing container here, my throwing water. There we go. And what I like to do is, while everyone else is working, before everyone wants to clean later on, I get myself a 5-gallon bucket, or I've got a nice floor washing bucket here. And I like to just have a bucket of water ready. That way, when it comes time to clean my wheel, I can easily have my own water, and I don't have to worry about the inevitable line at the sink. All right, that's as much as I would clean this for the first pass. Basically, the first pass is all about liquefying the dirt, getting rid of the chunks, and then once that's all done, then I can take the rest of it to the sink. All right, so get this all liquefied. There we go. And then I'm going to liquefy what's on here. And notice I'm not rinsing. I'm not going for clean. I'm going for nothing is dry. I just want to get this all to a point where it's liquid. If you have a dirty pedal, I recommend putting some water on that and let this dirt start slaking down a bit while you're doing other things. And I can wash the sides. Make sure you wash the switch. All right, so this is now ready to be rinsed off in the sink. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so this is as clean as these are. I bring them over to the sink. And now, because I've gotten all the chunks and everything out of it, I can do an actual rinsing. And this won't take long because they're mostly clean. The water that I rinse, though, I'm going to pour it into the bucket that's in the sink here. That's a settling bucket, and a settling bucket is meant to help take the solids out of the water before the water goes down the sink. So when in doubt, rinse things or pour your extra water into your settling bucket rather than putting it straight down the sink. Once it's pretty clean, then you can rinse it off. Set it aside to dry. All right, so for this one, I'm going to go ahead and I've got a little bit of kind of slippy water in the inside there. I'll pour that into the settling tank. Take my sponge. Do any last scrubbing that I need to do on the outside to make sure this is clean. Rinse it all off. If these are cleaned properly when they dry, they should be clean. They should not have any residue on them at all. All right, get that off. We'll go back over to the wheel. All right, I'm back at the wheel. I'm going to wipe off my bucket that I used for my throwing water, and I'm going to set this aside. I cleaned the bottom off of it before I put it on the bench there. And now I'm actually going to be trying to clean what's left here. So I can use the sponge until it's dirty, and then I'll rinse it off. Clean your pedal, the top, the sides, wipe the bottom off. There we go. I can set that aside. Rinse my sponge. And now all of the part that I liquefied earlier, I should be able to rinse, wipe this, and it should take a couple. And if your water in your bucket gets too dirty, then you can do one last wipe of the top surfaces with a sponge that's been done, that has been rinsed out directly in the sink. Let me step away and rinse this one out. All right, back with a perfectly clean sponge. I will wipe one side, flip the sponge, get the rest of this. Now those surfaces are really clean, properly clean. Okay, next, I'm going to work on my stool. This is one a lot of people forget, but we brush up against these. And if we leave dry clay on the stool, our clothing is going to brush that. It's going to turn that into airborne dust, and we're going to breathe it. No dirty surfaces are acceptable. All dirty surfaces need to get cleaned. So, wash this off. Wipe it all down. Why it's even dirty on the inside, I have no idea, but I'm the person currently using this stool and this wheel, so I'm going to leave it clean. All right, all clean. The next thing that I need to worry about is all of this mess on the floor. So, all this mess, this all has to get cleaned up. If you've got any bricks, go ahead and wash these off. All the bricks should be clean when you go to work. If they aren't, somebody else didn't do their job, didn't clean up. That does not mean that you don't have to. The last person to use the equipment is the person who's responsible for cleaning the equipment. That may or may not be you. That's how it goes. All right, for the floor, I'm going to actually use a mop. It's going to be easier on my back. I'm going to soak my mop in the water, and then I'm just going to press most of the water out of it, but I'm not going to really squeeze the mop because I want lots of water on the floor here. These floors are porous. The concrete is porous. If I don't put enough water down, then the dry clay won't slake down, it won't liquefy, and it won't come up off the surface. So this first wiping is about putting water down, and if it's particularly bad, I won't even do that with the mop. I'll just take my sponge and pour water on the floor. I'm not afraid of water, I'm afraid of dust. Then I'll use the scrub brush on a pole. Again, helps my back. I don't have to bend down to do this. And I'm going to make sure, just like with the wheel, that all of this clay on the floor, the dry clay, is liquefied. I'm worried about anything that's left on this surface. So, scrub it with a scrub brush. Always clean a little bit further out than you were working. Always clean more than you are responsible for. We all do a little extra. The studio will stay in good condition. Now that I've scrubbed this all, I can come with my mop. This time I will wring the water out of the mop because on the second pass, I'm trying to pick up all of the sloppy water after I've gotten this clay to liquefy, and I just need to get this up off of the floor. So, using my mop, basically just to pick it up. Rinse my mop out again. Again, pressing the extra water out. And it's all about picking up what's here. Get underneath the table. Preferably, there's not going to be a bunch of stuff on the table because you'll have been using wear boards or something that you can take away and clean, and you're not putting your things directly on the benches. But you may be. All right. Then I'm going to wring this out one more time. I've picked up everything that was here, but I'm going to give it one more pass with the clean mop just to make sure. We could clean these floors every hour, all day, and they may never actually be 100% clean. But I want you to give it your best. And you'll notice this is a fairly small area, and I've still wrung my mop out several times just to clean this small spot. All right. That is clean. The last thing that I'm going to want to do is my slip bucket that I've got, or my throwing bucket. I'm going to take this to the sink. I'm going to scoop any of the solids. Actually, not going to go to the sink first. I'm going to take it over to the reclaim buckets, scoop out my solids, put them in the reclaim bucket, and then the slippy water that's in here, pour that into the bucket that's in the sink, not directly down the drain. After I've done that, I can rinse it. Again, pour that into the bucket that's in the sink. Then I can use the sink and rinse this clean. All right? So that is what we're expecting your wheels to look like when you're all done. Extra bricks can be left here on the bench, or they can be left a couple of spots on the shelves where you'll see bricks stacked up. Either of those is fine. But when you're done, floor has to be clean, wheel has to be clean, bench has to be clean, the pedal has to be clean, stool has to be clean. Everything should look as good as new. All right. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.